do some other manipulations with the data. We oftentimes want to look at the different taxonomic levels. Okay, remember I said, we have everything through the kingdom, bacteria, through the genus, in this case bacillus. But in this particular format, it's not that useful because everything is in one cell, and it doesn't allow us to easily kind of just look at bacillus or just look at genus or just look at phylum or class or order or what have you. So it would be nice to kind of split this out so we could get each of those taxonomic levels individually. And one of the easiest ways to do this, there are multiple ways, but you can go up to data and text to columns. And that's basically going to take what's in this cell and have each entry, or depending on which delimiter you use, create in a separate column. So the pop-up box will say delimited. That's the default, so you want to keep that. You don't want fixed width for this. You can click next, and you want to make sure semicolon is checked, because the semicolon is what's separating the kingdom between the kingdom and the phylum and the class and the order and so forth. And you can see it's kind of showing you down here what that's going to look like, and if we deselect semicolon, it's just going to look exactly like what we have, and we don't want that. So we want semicolon. You could put in your own one if you wanted to, but let's just leave it like this. And then we can go to next. And we'll just leave this the same, but we don't want it to go, the destination to be the same place where we are. Okay, we are in B2 and we don't want that. So let's see if I can move this to the other side of average. So let's go to O. We'll give ourselves some space. And so we'll go to O2. I'm just going to delete that and put in O. Hit finish. And let's see if that works. So if we go over here, yeah, okay. So now we have each of those separate, and we can make column headers. Oops, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, and genus. Now, that's fine. We've got it for the first one. We'd like to do that for all of them, so we can go over here, click, and I'm going to jump to the bottom of our set, and we don't want the other to be included, so we can move that up. Oops, didn't want to do that. So we'll just go ahead and do it with that. We'll fix that afterwards. So now we've got all of them selected. We're going to do the same thing that we just did. Data, text to columns, delimited, yep, next. Semicolon, yep, next. This is fine. We don't want to go to B3. We want to go to O3. Fine. Finish. And now we can go over here. And now we have it for everything, which is great. And we have it for other, which we don't really want. So we'll just delete that. So we're fine. Okay. So now we have all of these in their own columns, which is kind of nice. Now, let's say that we are interested in comparing all of these samples to see how different they are or how similar they are at the level of phyla, at the phylum level. Now, we have them all separated out by the phylum here, Firmicutes, Bacteroides, etc. But we want to have each of the phyla that are represented in the samples as its own, but we can't just use these columns because each one of these phyla is repeated for whatever the entry is. So we can do some filtering here. and we can select the column. Okay, so we've selected it, and we're going up to Filter, and we can go to Advanced Filter. We don't want to filter in place. We want to copy to another location, and we're going to copy that to U2, I guess is fine. Yeah, that'll clear the last column that we're using. Why don't we skip one column to give ourselves a little more space. We'll put that to V2. And we only want the unique records. And by clicking unique records, that means that if Firmicutes is mentioned 10 times, we're only going to include it in our list once. And if it's mentioned once, we'll have it at least once. But we're only going to keep each record once. Okay, I'm going to click OK. Copy to another location. V2, that's fine. We're going to go through P2 through P51. Unique records only. And let's see what happens. There we go. Now here we can see our list of phyla. I can put that in here. And these are all the unique phyla that are represented in our sample. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, lucky 13 phyla represented in the sample. And what we can do now is we can sum across the phyla in each of the samples. So let's do that for soil A, 10 to the 3. So we can copy that, go back over here. Here's our sample. Now, how are we going to do this? What we want is to sum all of the Firmicutes that are in sample A. And let's see how we do that. So we now have all the unique phyla that are represented in our samples. We now want to know for each sample what percentage are from each phyla. So what percentage are Firmicutes, what percentage are Bacteroidetes, and so on and so forth. So let's start that with the first column, the first sample, which is the soil, the A criteria, or the A condition sample at 10 to the 3. So we can just copy that over back to here. And what we want to be able to do is we want to go through sample A, and every time it's in, say, Firmicutes, we want to add that up because we want to know the total number of Firmicutes. So there's an easy way to do that, and it's going to use a SUMIF function, and we're going to put that into this column. We're going to go up to the formula bar, and we're going to go with our equals, and if you can choose from this drop-down menu. SUMIF is one of the common ones. So we're going to do SUMIF, and let's get rid of this formula builder because that's going to just confuse you for right now. And we'll just do it manually. Again, you have to start each one with the open parentheses. And it's going to kind of prompt you to know that you need a range, you need a criteria, and you need a sum range. Okay. Now our range is going to be phylum, because in phylum, that's where we have the information on each of the phyla for each of the samples. So for the range, we're going to start with column, which column is that? That's Q and OP, right. Okay, so P2, and we're going to go all the way to the bottom through P51. Okay, so we're going through that whole column that has all our phyla information. And now we want to go to criteria. Now what's our criteria? Well, our criteria is in cell V2. We want everything that's Firmicutes. So we're going to just type in V2 is our criteria. And we want to do the sum range. Well, the sum range, we want to do sample A 10 to the 3, right? So our sum range, we're going to go back over to here, is C2, and jump to the bottom, through C53. And actually, it's not C53 because we added a couple other calculations in there that we did earlier that we don't want to actually include, and we really only want to go through C51. So we can back that up to C51, close the parentheses, and what is that going to do when we hit enter? That's going to give us the sum total of all of the firmicutes in soil A sample 10 to the 3. That's great. Now, a couple things. We'd like to do that formula. We'd like to run this formula over all of the different unique phyla, which we can do by copying the formula. But before we do that, we need to edit the formula a little bit just to make sure everything works out right. Now, what Excel will do automatically is if we move down and apply this calculation to the next row, it's going to move all these values down one. So instead of sorting instead of going through P2 to P51, if we move to the next, it's going to go P3 to P52. And we don't want that. We want to lock in the ranges that we have. And the way to lock in the rows that we have is to use a $sign. Okay, so what we're basically telling the formula here is always go to 2 and always go through 51. And we want that for our range, and we want that for our sum range, okay? And so we're going to lock that in. And we do want V2 to vary. So when we go down here, we don't want to get the firmicutes value again. We want to have it do V3. So we're not going to lock in the V2 there at 2 because we want that to shift. But we want the range and the sum range to stay the same. So we've modified our equation. You see it doesn't affect anything here. But when we copy this, paste it down to all our different phyla, paste. Now we've got different values for each one of those, and they should represent the relative abundance of each of those phyla within this sample. Now we can test that because we know that all of these, if we don't include other, should add up to, if we go back here and check, around 74% total, okay, because the other is about 26%. Well, so let's see if we add that up, does it come close to what we want? So we can do here, just to check that, sum. We don't want to sum up if in this case, we just want a simple sum. Are you being difficult with me? Okay. Select these, close, and it's about 74%. Now, it's 7439, and what do we have over here? 74. So somehow the value isn't perfect, but I'm not going to, it's a very small percentage off. I'm not entirely sure why that is, because in principle it should add up to the same. What do we do there? Well, let's hold off on for that one, but it's pretty close. And of course, the other 26% or so would be the other, which we know is already other because we trimmed our data. So it's not perfect, but it's close, and I'll see if I can figure out why it's not perfect later. So we can delete that. We don't need to do that. Now, that's great for sample soil A 10 to the 3. We want to do that for all of them. So here we can go and paste the rest. copy, paste.